So today we're going to hear an update from the Texas A&M Foundation and just learn how the Texas A&M Foundation enhances Texas A&M University's mission. And I want to welcome our presenters today. We have Mr. Tyson Vocal, President and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. John Morse, Senior Vice President for Development, and we have Mr. Tom Poole, Assistant Vice President for Corporations and Foundations. So now I'll just go ahead and turn this over to our presenters. And again, thank you all for being with us today.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you, David. Appreciate that introduction. Well, we're also joined by David Riggs. He's part of our information systems team here, just in case John and Tom and I mess up the presentation here. But thank you for giving us some time. We're going to go fast so that we've got plenty of time for Q&A after our presentation. But I want to just start off first by saying we have three guiding principles in terms of how we operate here at the foundation. And we wake up every morning to create more opportunities for Texas A&M University. And hopefully you can gather that from the presentation that we've got today. We're an open book and an open door. Transparently, we try to do what's right for our donors through directed gifts, through our endowment management, and then most importantly, in our mission, which is to build a brighter future for A&M, and we do it one relationship at a time. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the slides here for you. Let me just start. We were founded in 1953, about $400, and 7 gentlemen back then saw that in the future there would be a need for separate funding for Texas A&M. And as a result, we've grown since that $400 back then into the organization that we have now. So as we forward through these slides here, we've got a mission to build a brighter future for A&M, one relationship at a time. And our main focus area is endowed giving. However, an example for you, we raised $300 million last year, and $75 million of those dollars were for endowments. Okay, so we do a lot of pass-through gifts. We have over 10,000 accounts that we manage here at the A&M Foundation, just on our endowed side of our business. Okay, what do we support with that? University programs and capital building projects, faculty and research, undergraduate and graduate scholarships and fellowships, and then student activities and campus traditions. So we cover the gamut. When you think about the different fundraising organizations for A&M, we are your academic partner. So we have a Giving Academy. The Giving Academy is our way of sharing and lifting all boats when it comes to philanthropy. You can find that on our website, or just Google Giving Academy, Texas A&M, and you'll be able to see some of our videos that explain how and what and why we do what we do. So we do have recognition programs. Many of you may be familiar with these. The top award for philanthropy is called the Sterling Evans Medal, named obviously after Sterling C. Evans, who is a legendary Aggie figure in the fact that not only did he help fund the university at one time when the legislature didn't have the money for the university, but also in his example in agriculture, banking, and business, and also his just high acumen and high values. We have the Legacy Society, and that is anyone who's given to the university $100,000 or more over their lifetime, okay? And that means we're recognizing anybody who has given at that level across all of the different ways that you can participate in philanthropy at A&M. So that's money to the Association of Former Students, to their annual fund. It could be through the 12th Man Foundation for scholarships and gift support there. The George and Barbara Bush Foundation for supporting the library and or the Bush School, and the Corps Cadets Association, which supports programming and events at the Corps of Cadets Association. So we're the only organization that has that responsibility. It's in our affiliation agreement with the university, and we take great pride in that. As a matter of fact, we're rolling out a new Legacy Society recognition program and a concierge service for all of those members that are participating in Legacy Society that you'll hear more about. The Heritage membership is really something that we love for faculty members in particular, because this is where you can make a planned gift to something that you care about on the campus. And that is also a wonderful program that we have. We have our own magazine that extols the virtues of those types of philanthropy. And then last but not least is the Murray Faskin Class of 38 Partner in Philanthropy Award. And that celebrates Aggie faculty and staff who demonstrate real partnership in philanthropy. We believe in a culture of philanthropy at the foundation. We're not in competition with any of the other affiliated organizations. If we're in competition with anybody, it's ourselves, because we're ever looking to the future and the role that we play for Texas A&M University. And this comes with a $10,000 stipend that we provide to the recipients of this Partner in Philanthropy Award. And again, you can go to our website and see who some of the original, who the recipients are. We created this in 2016, and we're really proud of how this helps us build a culture of philanthropy across the campus. So here's our communication initiatives that we have. So we've got all the types of social media you would expect an organization like ours to have, but our flagship is Spirit magazine. We have no advertisements. Everything that we do is focused on content and telling the stories and connecting the dots between faculty and donors, research and donors, students and donors, and helping build a brighter future. Target audience for Spirit magazine is typically your 45 to 95-year-old. Maroon magazine is for a younger demographic, and these are young people that care about A&M and want to learn about the innovative, interesting things that are going on around our campus and how philanthropy can play a role there. Heritage is for our planned giving and estate planning. And then, of course, we talked about the Giving Academy a little bit earlier, which I would ask that you just go click on any one of the videos there to learn a little bit more about philanthropy and how it plays a role and how you can play a role in philanthropy there too. So a couple of real high points here. As I said at the start, yes, our fundraising exceeded $250 million. It was right at $300 million. We provided $173 million in philanthropic support from the endowment management and our donor gifts to the university. Lots of impact. Think about 13,000 students receive scholarship support through philanthropy on campus. And then we have corporate partners in philanthropic giving over 40 million last year across multiple industries. We don't just work with oil and gas. We work with any corporation that has a passion for the things that are going on our campus. And as I said at the start, we've got over 10,000 actually separate accounts for directed giving across the campus. And we manage the actual endowment. So we're really rare in the fact that we have our own investment team. It's not outsourced. We don't have a consultant doing it for us. We have a professional investment team here at the foundation that manages our endowment, which is $2.84 billion. And then our total assets is $3.3 billion in total assets under management. Quick snapshot here, funds made available to the university. As you can see, it's increasing over time. If you went back just a couple more years, you'd see that we went from about $70 million in 2016 to the university to now over $170 million. That's the combination of the investment returns and growing the endowment and funds made available through fundraising by our exceptional development team here. All right, so I'm going to transition this over to John Morris. He's been with us for just a little bit over a year. We were able to recruit him from a really big job at Auburn, and part of his why for coming here was because of our philosophy for how we engage in fundraising, and that we believe it's transformational and donor-centered. So I'll turn it over to John Morris now.
Well, thank you, Tyson, and good to be with you all. To echo Tyson's point, you think about our mission, is a brighter future for A&M, one relationship at a time. And what you see reflected in this graph, this chart here, this pyramid, is one relationship at a time. And so historically, we've been raising, as Tyson said, somewhere between $250 and $300 million annually, but it gets distributed with gifts like this. So typically we get about 50 gifts a year of $1 million or more. Okay, that's 50 decisions that each of those households make, determining what they want to do with their money that's going to be meaningful to them. And that takes a lot of our focus and a lot of our energy, but a lot of the big initiatives funded through, simply about 50 gifts a year. The other 850 gifts, major gifts that we work with, is where our professional staff spends time visiting, curating scholarships, faculty support, building support, all the things that drive A&M. Is really where our professional staff spends their time, for about 950 gifts a year. So I think of that as 950 custom gift experiences, one relationship at a time. I heard the phrase, and I kind of like it. It's a campaign of one. It's one campaign, right, at a time. Each and every one of those gifts, building that up. We don't do annual giving here. That's not part of our mission. But we do have folks that participate every single year under $25,000. In the fact, it's about 14,000 people participate every year under $14,000. But when we look at our gifts, this is typically how they come in. And a little bit more about those people making those gifts. What's driving them? What's their process of deliberation when deciding, should I make this gift? And so for the prospect, for the potential donor, when we bring them an idea, we're engaging them around a gift. What are the questions they're asking themselves? What are the donor deliberations? And the first one, I said, is this a compelling idea? Meaning, what they're asking themselves is this a good investment for how I would like to change the world? Which is an interesting switch from where we've been in the past, which is, the question used to be, will this help A&M? Now it's much more them focused on, is this a good investment for how I would like to change the world? The next question they're asking themselves is, what positive change happens when I make this gift? Which means that individual philanthropy cannot be replacement money, right? So my budget was cut by $50,000. I would prefer to have your gifted money to replace my budget. Donors are interested in, what positive thing happens? If you add my gift to where we're at, how do we advance? How do we go further? Okay, so is it a compelling idea? What positive change happens? As faculty, as research, as academic partners, number 3 is where you really come into play, because the next question they're asking themselves is, who's doing this work, right? With this investment, who's going to be teaching the students? Who's going to be engaging on the research? Who's going to be building the program? And they're asking themselves, do I trust them? Do I respect them? And so how do you fit into that picture? Well, the only way they can trust or respect you is if they know you. So engagement is really important to the individual philanthropist. And then lastly, if we earn the right to ask them again, they're going to ask themselves, did we accomplish our goals? What we set out to do with this money, did we make it happen, right? Did we advance? Did we do those things? So if that's the prospect side, on our side, on the university side, on the mission side, how do we create these compelling ideas, right? And so I always say, let's define the problem that we're solving. What is the problem? And why does that problem hurt? Particularly, why does it hurt people? Those people being our students, our citizens, our state, our region, our world, right? Defining that problem. And then as a faculty member, as a research, as an academic partner, our job is to help you construct your promise, right? Imagine a world where that problem no longer exists, right? Childhood obesity, illiteracy, right? Famine, pick your subject, and a description of, imagine a world, right, where every child has access to the healthcare that they need so that we can have thriving and healthy families in our state and our regional world. Imagine what that would look like. And then where we work with you is now explain how we get there. What are the 3 to 5 things that you are doing, that your team is doing, that your college is doing, that your research is doing, that's going to get us closer to that future world, to solving that problem? And if you think about it, it's 3 to 5 things. Hey, we're going to increase our research team, right? So we're going to add 2 graduate assistants. We're going to explore this new technology and equipment, and we're going to attract and retain top talent, be that students or faculty, right? So those 3 to 5 things are going to help us do that. And then lastly, it's extending the invitation to them. And this is how you can come along and partner with us on solving this problem. So when we think about our work, particularly for funding, rather than what you need, right? Rather than presenting, this is what I need, it is, what am I going to do with this money, right? What are going to be the outcomes? And because individual philanthropists do not give us money because we need it, they give us money for what we can do with it, right? And so changing the way that we position our work to, this is what we're going to do with the money. This is how we're going to solve the problem. Investing through us, you'll be able to accomplish these goals. So mentioned this a little bit again, but a little bit deeper for these donors. What do they want, right? Is this a good investment for how I want to change the world? What's the 3-foot view? What's the 30,000-foot view, right? The 3-foot view is typically, hey, we need a building. Will you give me $5 million for a building? And where I would like to say is 4 walls and a roof, a compelling idea, right? Is 4 walls, a roof, answering the question, is this a good idea, a good investment for how I want to change the world? Versus saying, hey, we'd like to build a new research facility for STEM or for agriculture, where we can attract top researchers, retain the great faculty we have, position them next to our worthy and deserving students so that we can study and pursue precision agriculture so that when the global population reaches 9 billion by 2050, we have the resources, tools, and technologies to feed the world. Would you like to help us learn how to feed the world? Is that a compelling idea, right? And so transitioning to that. Again, transformative impact. What positive change happens if I add this money? What changes for Texas A&M? What changes for me? What changes for the world, right? Rather than replacement dollars. How do we move from we have antiquated facilities to we're helping ensure no one knows hunger, right? Big transformational ideas. And I'd say the larger the dollar, the larger transformation that is expected. Credible connections, again, mentioned this. Donors want to know who is solving the problem and how do I fit in? Gone are the days primarily where folks will just give us a gift and sit in the corner quietly. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. Who's doing the work? Do I trust them? Do I respect them? And what lifts the ceiling is really, do I believe in them? Do I believe in what they're doing in the work and the team that they have? And so this is where your connections become really, really critical. And then lastly, it's getting it right, right? Donors expect results. This image of horseshoes and hand grenades. It's right. That's where close counts. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. How do we make sure that we're hardwiring the expectations? So this means we're bringing donors along the journey, right? Don't give the gift and then a report 2-3 years later that says, "Ooh, we got close." Bring them along step by step throughout the journey. Hardwire those expectations. So that we can do what we say our mission is, which is to build trust with them, build trust with our team, build trust with you all, our academic partners. So partnership opportunities that we have, certainly private foundations, corporate partners, individual benefactors, so individual decision makers, not just here, but in philanthropy and giving in the United States, make up 90% of all charitable giving. So there is a misnomer that the corporate giving is the golden goose. It's certainly important and it's critical to us too. We have a lot of success in corporate giving, but individual benefactors make 90% of the decisions related to philanthropy. And some of those do that by utilizing their private foundation, their family foundations, and otherwise, but largely it's an individual decision. Is this a right project? All the things we just went through in terms of a compelling idea. So we can help in all of those areas, right? With private foundations, with corporates, and with individual benefactors. So what do we ask of you? It's understanding what are those compelling ideas. Those are the deliberations in the mind of the benefactor. Where do you have answers? Where do you have opportunities to invest? When folks give to A&M, about 80 to 85% of them give to multiple designations every year. So we have very few people that only do one thing at Texas A&M University. Most of them do many things. And so they're looking for compelling ideas to invest in the cause that they care about at the place that they love. And so we could use your help on what are those compelling ideas. There's a lot of interest in interdisciplinary, in where you're collaborating across colleges, units, and departments to solve some of the biggest problems, right? And so where you're doing that innovative work is really compelling, not only to individual benefactors, but certainly to our corporate partners and our foundations. And we wanted to leave some time in our presentation today and the time you allotted us for any questions, any discussions that we could do helping moving forward. We have Tom here, Tom Poole, our Assistant Vice President for Corporate and Foundation Relations. We put his contact information here to be your clear point of contact on questions you might have or opportunities you want to pursue. So, Tom, comments on that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, and yeah, thank you for allowing us to spend some time with all of you. We appreciate the time. As John and Tyson mentioned, I work with our corporate team as well as starting to build out our foundation relations enterprise and doing a lot of reconnecting with a number of foundations that have been very generous to us in the past. I work fairly closely with folks over in the Division of Research not only with SRS, with folks in y'all's area, but also with the research development services for limited submission processes and things like that. And so my job is to go out there and find those foundations, those entities, corporations that want to give to something on this campus. And as John mentioned, we're out there trying to find those folks and then match them up with something here. I typically go and ask them what their passion areas are, what their areas of focus are for this year or over time. And there's a good chance that at the largest public university in the country and a tier 1 research institution, we probably have someone working on the problem that they're trying to solve. And just like John said, we match those up with all of you, with folks on this campus to help them build a brighter future and a better world. So happy to be of service to you anytime.
So we went fast, and we'd love to just get into the Q&A.
And perhaps while we're waiting, I remember in the CPI presentation, y'all gave like an example of some of the research that a family was supporting. Maybe you have that or some other examples, maybe of just some research on campus that different groups or people are supporting.
Great. Yeah. So a couple things. So first off, Jack Baldoff and our team, we've been talking about a research Shark Tank, right? Shark Tanks are pretty popular these days for entrepreneurship. One of the most popular TV shows out there, from socially. And I'll give you an example. About 4 years ago, we did our first beta test. We had a number of faculty on a Zoom call. It was during COVID. And we put a room of donors together across the country, and we had faculty present to them. And out of that, we were able to fund a number of initiatives. We partner with SRS. If there's no contract, if there's no expectation for research findings and other things that would fall under SRS's rubric, then this is just pass-through money, typically that goes directly to the faculty member to advance their research. Let's talk Deborah Bell Peterson, right? She's studying sleep and she's studying jet lag. And we had a donor that was very interested in that. And as a result, she's been able to hire a lot more graduate assistants. She's got more lab equipment through the funding from a family foundation that was interested in that particular topic. Brain gut health is another one, especially when it comes to post-traumatic stress disorder. That's another one that we've funded. Low gravity centrifuge in terms of how will we do long space travel and the biophysics and biomechanics of how it impacts the human body. That funded through a private grant. With no expectation for fees or any of the other things. I didn't mention it in my presentation, but yes, you heard me. We have no fees on gifts at the Texas A&M Foundation. We charge a management fee to manage the investment portfolio we have of 1.25%. But let's say a donor gives $100,000 for a project. 100% of that $100,000 goes to the project. If they invest that money in the endowment, that $100,000 is expected to grow over time if we do a good job with it. And that money will actually double over time. And the payout from that endowment also goes and doubles over time as well. That's the power of compounding, the power of our investment philosophy, and how we earn trust with our donors and with you as academic partners. So those are a couple of examples. Anybody else have a question or anything we could shed light on? Craig, I see Craig's question in there, and I see Katrina's. So we'll take them one at a time. So Katrina, wonderful question. Sometimes we raise money despite what's happening on the campus. Okay, this is a testament to donors' passions for things they care about, especially when you're talking about private philanthropy from foundations that Tom's working with, because they have a mission that's their higher calling. Let's say it's to eradicate childhood hunger, in a certain region of the world. they may not care so much about the fact that we terminated a football coach and paid him $75 million. But I guarantee you, our development officers are having those conversations with donors because we lose trust when there are national issues that the university has and is grappling with. Even though we don't have a responsibility for some of those decisions, we like to say when the university sneezes, the Texas A&M Foundation will catch the cold, because we're in the trust business. We're in the business of transparency. We're in the business of sharing what's working and what's not, so that we can galvanize support for the university. So there's the natural affinity, Katrina, for the Aggie Ring and for Texas A&M University that people have. They want their alma mater to be successful. But more often than not, when you're talking about a faculty initiative or some research area, that might not be the driver. What may be the driver is their love for a particular department because it transformed them as a young person into who they are today, or they may have a special interest in that particular area of research. When you talk about annual fundraising, there's multiple facets to that. So I'm going to turn it over to John Morris and let him kind of expand on that. And then Craig, we'll get to your question.
Yeah, Katrina, really great question. And Tyson hit on most of it. Particularly individual philanthropy is about value alignment. And so, which makes our work extremely relationship based. And so the success in a year is because of good work done in the previous years, right? So this is about our ability to engage directly with folks, build relationships, build trust-based relationships, where we ask questions like, what do you want to accomplish with your money that's going to be meaningful to you? And then bring to them, here's an idea that looks like it's going to align. Can we create an opportunity for you to consider? It's all relationship based. So any success in any given year is because of work that was done before us last year, a decade ago, 2 decades ago, by the experience that they had when they stepped on this campus the first time, by what has changed in their life and in their world since then. And so ours is highly relational. When we stop engaging, when we stop building relationships, we stop raising significant gifts for the university. And so in any one given year, success is going to depend on the right 2 or 3 or 5 gifts. But we look at our job is to create the most gratifying gifting experience we possibly can for every single benefactor. We want to earn the right to be their first choice for philanthropy. And so that sort of commitment is hard work, but it's work that we're proud to do. That's how we continue to grow our expectations, and then the distributions to campus is from great and best in class investing, a team and a board committed to that fiduciary responsibility that comes with this organization, and providing continued resources to our university is the mission.
Yeah, so Katrina, hopefully that answered it for you. I would also say our vision for the organization is aspirational. We aspire to be among the most trusted philanthropies in higher education, not just in Texas, but in all of higher education. So that's an aspirational goal. And how you earn that trust is we are the fiduciary to the donor, not to Texas A&M, not to your department or the faculty member, but to the donor. Because the commitment we make is to do what we say we're going to do with those donor dollars. And it gets more complicated when we start talking about research and funding labs and different things like that. And so we have to have a good partnership with our academic partners if we're going to make that work. It's complicated work, and we're proud to do that work. It ties into Craig's question, so we'll answer that. And so, Craig, you said, how do you handle a potential donor relationship if a faculty member is approached by an industry leader? First off, that's wonderful. That's great that industry's coming to you. Industry's problem with A&M is less about wanting to help and more about how do they navigate A&M to get what they want legally and in a timely way. So the short answer is yes. Working and knowing our development team is a great first step. We have a wonderful corporate team. It's small, but does a great job. And then the other complicating factor is that most colleges have their own corporate relations staff. Remember, none of our team here at the foundation are state employees. We're a separate 501c3. Money goes one way from us to the university. So we're not in TRS. We have our own benefits package. We manage everything in-house here. So we have to partner with those other corporate relations team members on the campus. And so I think as a faculty member, knowing clearly who you should talk to within your department, school, center is important. If you don't know the answer to that question, you ask and find that out. But then our team can help, and we can help direct and steer to the right place if we don't know the right answer to that. So hopefully, Greg, that answered your question.
Greg, I'll give you all a quick script, right? When a donor, an individual benefactor, or even corporate partner approaches you about their interest in investing or engaging or getting involved, the script I like to give is, I hear that a lot, right? A lot of people, so I say normalize it first, right? A lot of people want to get engaged with our work. Thank you for your interest. We partner with our foundation to help engage on this. Is it okay if I make a connection, right? And so Tom can be a point of contact. If you're in a college, we have a development team can be a point of contact. So things like that, I would say normalize their interest, recognize and express gratitude, and offer a connection.
And Craig, a lot of the interest from industry, remember, they exist for a reason. They've got a bottom line. And so a lot of times they're looking out for how are they going to benefit their company. And so we have to thread the needle, and our team is skilled at navigating, okay, this is an SRS discussion versus this is pure philanthropy versus you just want access to recruit our students. There's 100 different things that a corporation might want, and we're happy to talk about all of it. So hopefully that answered. All right, we got Lance. Thanks for coming on screen. How you doing?
I'll even come on mic. I'm doing well. Thanks for the talk today.
Great. Okay, so you in your question, you're talking about interdisciplinary teams and growing. Very difficult. In a lot of the cabinet meetings, interdisciplinary is mentioned in just about every meeting. It's the holy grail of the future of higher ed, and it's also where the most transformational gifts are often found in research, right? A&M's got a number of programs to encourage the interdisciplinary working. So you've got your X prizes, you've got your ADM project, $5 million a year, so on and so forth. This who will do it and trust building conversations, we are happy to take that on and save you the time and energy. So in the investment world, we call it due diligence, right? So although we might invest in 15 opportunities a year, but our investment team here, will put about $250 million to $300 million to work annually, trying to grow the endowment. But we will look at over 300 opportunities, and we'll pick about 12 to 15 to invest in. So we call it our due diligence. Well, we have to do the same thing with donors, and we have to do the same thing with industry partners that want to come partner with A&M. Our team is skilled at doing that, and we have the resources to do it versus you as an individual faculty member with some grad students or whatnot. So the sooner you can make the connection to Tom and our team here, the sooner we can kind of do the due diligence to say, yes, this is worth pursuing. Although we have Aggie values and Aggies don't lie, cheat, or steal, I get weekly at least 2 or 3 folks that wear the ring or that are engaged with A&M that have an opportunity that's too good to refuse. And typically, if it's too good to be true, it is, right? But we take every meeting, we listen, we meet with folks, and we treat everybody fairly and equally. To include, if you get $5 or you give $50 million, we try to give you the most gratifying gift experience, right? So there's not this quid pro quo because you gave more, you get more influence. We listen to everybody. And we are never held hostage by a donor because we're transparent in what we do. And we don't ever compromise our integrity, nor what we stand for, because somebody's going to wave a big check in front of us. That's another misnomer I want to get out there. We are not a transactional organization, even though we'll do about 40,000 transactions a year. Hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully we answered a little bit of your question. I see Heidi next. Go ahead, Kelly. Lance.
Yeah, thanks. I had one quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
How often do donors come to you with a specific professor name in mind, maybe based on the outreach? What I've noticed is sometimes there'll be someone with their nose to the grindstone, and they don't really come up for air. They're not the greatest at self-marketing, but their publication record stands, in their mind, their publications stand for themselves. I guess, yeah. How often are you introducing a donor to a brand new name?
Great question. I'm going to let John answer that one.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can't recall a time where an inbound call came in that said, "Hey, I've read that this faculty member is doing this work. I would love to support them." Very, in my entire history, I've worked at, this is my fourth land grant. Haven't yet to have that happen. I've had a couple things happen where a faculty member is presenting their research at a conference where that has happened, right? Where somebody raises their hand and say, I care about what that is. So how do we work that? That's where you all can help us, because I'll give you one real example. And Tyson knows it intimately. We have a donor who has had a nice giving history, but never really has had to have the opportunity to say, this is really what I want to care about. This is a problem I want to solve. And so Tyson went out and visited this particular donor and discovered the thing that they want to solve is related to conflict resolution, related to mediation and advancing ethical leadership in that space. And our task then becomes, okay, who's doing that work at Texas A&M University? And believe it or not, that is a lot harder to get that information than one would believe. Yeah. So I think that's an opportunity for us to really build some partnership, even if it's just categorically or thematically. Here are the areas of problems, right? Here's the research. Here's the things that we're working on in sort of a listserv of the faculty that are engaged in it. Because I know this benefactor's interest is going to be at the intersection of discipline. I like to say coolest things happen at the intersection of discipline, right? And so how we can help and build that up when we talk about how A&M is serving its land grant mission to improve lives and drive economies, it would be great for us to build up some partnership, and maybe that's an outcome of this meeting where Tom can take it on our end to start building that out, because very rarely does it come in the inbound. It comes because we find interest, and then now we have to go play matchmaker.
Let me add just real quick to this, and then I know y'all want to get to Heidi's question too. Is Lance, this is a big plug for research development services, that area that you're near and dear to your heart. Over the past several months, and really over the past year, working with Dr. Jerry-Ann Alexander and Gabriella Kianina, all the folks in the limited submission process gave. That's an area where I've been able to go out and find foundations, understand what their funding area is for this year or their ongoing funding area, and especially if it's involving faculty and research. They may not know the particular faculty, but I'll push those opportunities over to RDS and to the limited submission process so that they can get the information out. That way, if you do have a faculty member that's they got their nose to the grindstone, like you said, they're not coming up from air very much. I can't say enough good things about the limited submission process. And I'm just trying to bring fuel to that, bring some funders, and then let them kind of go through that process. I always encourage any faculty members that are looking for research work to work with Dr. Alexander and the RDS. Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
She's my boss, so I'll pass the good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quick question for you, right? So how do you currently find faculty collaborators around your research on campus? What's the mechanism that you leverage as a faculty member? Is there a portal or a website where you would do that?
Yeah, so I have a background very similar to a faculty member, but actually I'm support staff. And I have been a PI for small business, so I'm between the different worlds, and what I often do is the same thing that the faculty do. They talk to each other. They go to a conference, and they read each other's papers, and they find each other. It's not, to date, it hasn't always the number of times that it's been that I would introduce two faculty members who didn't know each other is very, very few. They usually at least know of each other's research.
Right.
But we're exploring tools to look at activity of different researchers based on their submissions, their proposals that they're going after, and trying to identify people and make those matches ourselves. So it's still very early stages, but it's something that we are very interested to look more into.
Okay. So we've got we're building out a donor portal at the A&M Foundation, and also just because I'm trying to get the word out to everybody, I spoke to the Council of Deans yesterday about this topic. So Senate Bill 17 changed how certain scholarships will be awarded. The A&M Foundation is going to evolve our existing scholarship programs, and we'll be taking on all those SB 17 frustrated scholarships that are in violation of that new, law in Texas over time. So don't think light switch. It's more like a dimmer switch. It's going to come on gradually because we're building out the capacity, because we've been doing it for 20 plus years already. So it's not new. It's just we're taking on more of that. But in that same vein, we've got a donor portal that we're going to be launching. And I think this conversation, we should continue this, David. I don't know how, but we need to set something up with y'all. And Tom, we'll give this task to you. I think we at the foundation have the ability to create a faculty portal for this very question. It's the same thing Heidi is asking. It's in that same vein, as we've got well-intentioned faculty trying to do good work, but face it, your full-time job is a full-time job. This other job of let's go raise additional money is in addition to your already packed schedule and the work that you're doing. And I don't think we at A&M do a great job yet of empowering and giving resources to especially junior faculty in order to get these types of things done. It's not because people don't care. It's a difficult problem to solve, and most universities have an issue with it. Our role as an independent 501c3 and our ability to raise money, though, gives us the opportunity. Maybe we can be a clearinghouse, and we have a faculty portal where I'm doing research on digital media like Heidi has put in the chat, and I'd like some more education on how to raise money and how do I engage and those sorts of things. And there's a set of tools that we can have there and people to communicate with and meet with. But then also maybe we can envision a day where there's certain research initiatives and we can serve as a clearinghouse where it helps connect the dots between foundations, corporations, individuals that may be interested in your research and helping improve the world. So I think that's a good deliverable for us at the foundation, and our team will start working on that. So let's go to the next question. So Heidi, because you asked, we can help you with that. But just reach out to Tom and we'll figure out a way how we can get you here, the Texas A&M Foundation, and we can talk about how you can better communicate what it is that you're doing.
If I can jump in just on that categorically, right? How do you describe your problem, right? So the problem that you're working on, I think a clear 2 to 3 sentence, I mean, just to think about this in terms of how would a donor think about 2 to 3 sentence of what is the current cost of the problem? Like literally, why does this hurt? And why does it hurt people? People focused, okay? So on the media trends, in the public understanding of religion, why is that hurting people, communities, right, in this moment? And then the other thing, and this is what I will say, philanthropy, as much as I would love it to be, is not the answer for every single budgetary need or initiative on our campuses. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes we may get down the path and it may be, I'm not sure that individual giving, private giving is going to be the solution for the problem that you're trying to solve. There may be other resources, private grants, federal funding, et cetera, et cetera. So I do want to make that statement, right? Is that it isn't, we're never going to bat 1,000 on this. Okay. So what is it? What is the problem concisely described? And then now I'd like you to put on the benefactor's hat. And it as simply as I can say this, why do I care? Why do I care about that problem? And if we go through the exercise, describe to me what someone would have to care about to fund this. Okay. And that what that does is, as development officers, as fundraisers, is that allows us to hear that whenever we get to know a donor, again, relationship based, and they say, religion is really important to me. We said, I know we're doing some interesting things related to the perceptions of, right, or the understandings of religion. Let me go back and look and see on campus and learn more so I can bring you some more content, right? So I would say describe your problem as concisely as you possibly can at the 30,000 foot, not the 3 foot view, and then describe to me what someone would want to care about to solve that problem. So I think that gets us into the next question. Do we work with departments and faculty members on developing fundraising campaigns around their specific fields, science, or topics? Typically donor initiative. Yeah, so 9 times out of 10, yeah, you go through this process and you every department head and every faculty member historically, I like to bucket this in. Are you interested in talent, right? And that talent could be in the form of faculty, could be in the form of researchers, it could be in the form of students, right? Are you interested in talent? I'm assuming all of you probably have some talent needs, right? The next thing I said, are you interested in mission, right? And the land grant mission is research, outreach, service, right? But driving economies, improving people's lives. So all of those, I think, fall across the board of the work that we do here. As it pertains to the specific cause, that's where we have to thread the needle with each and every single prospect. This is the right investment, right? This is that right opportunity. So what we try to avoid is limiting that opportunity. So if we go to all of our donors with, here's the 6 things that we would like you to be interested in, we won't be as effective for A&M, and we won't create as many gratifying gifting experiences for the donors. So we try to make it as broad as we can. Is, do you believe and align with the mission? What are your personal values? What are you trying to accomplish with your money? And how do we find investment opportunities for you to do that? So if it's related to talent, either that through faculty, staff, or students, we have a lens to do that. Is it related to improving lives and driving economies? So that's probably research, right? That's probably programs. It's probably those sorts of initiatives. So that's generally how we do it, rather than specific fields. To answer your question directly, here's what we want to do for biology or chemistry. We try to keep it broader than that because our donor base is broad interest.
And Mbika, does that help with your question? And so, hey, how's it going? Good to see you.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, I was as a faculty member, with strong ties with the industry, and industries wanting and willing to support research in different ways. And I've been thinking, how could we cohesively develop a campaign for fundraising? But it would be very specific to a particular industry or very specific to a particular program within A&M.
Yeah,
so
right.
So I think that wondering how best we can work with the foundation development officers to create a campaign around, in our case would be around the turfgrass science. Turfgrass industry is huge in the state of Texas. It's the #1 crop, and there's a lot of interest in the industry to support turfgrass research. But how do we develop a cohesive plan for fundraising around that? So that was
Wonderful.
really what I was
Yeah.
getting at.
So here, my advice, and John and Tom can weigh in as well, is so work with your existing leadership in terms of priorities. So let's talk numbers. 7,000 faculty and staff for A&M. Everybody's passionate. They all have a big idea of things that they want to do. We wouldn't work in higher ed if we didn't care about the future, right? We have 72 development officers. So if you just start doing the math on the number of good ideas per capita per development officer, really quickly, the development officers can get overwhelmed with meetings just to talk about the ideas. And we all know, we all love a good faculty committee, right? Meanwhile, the development officer's task is to actually be on the road meeting with potential donors. So we have to create systems and an alignment around how to best utilize our skills and talents for the things that are most important. So we work with the president of the university, the provost, the vice president for research, so on and so forth, to better understand and align what are the top priorities for the university, because we have limited time and then the resources that we have to generate in order to pay for all this. We have to take that into account too. So the best way is you shouldn't be designing your fundraising campaign. You should be doing the best science and looking for the best talent and looking for the best opportunities to advance what it is that you're passionate about. And when you have that, that's the key ingredient to then tell the story. And if you've got the story, and if it's an aligned, purposeful, and intentional for the university or your department or your dean or your faculty head, then it can then move into this next piece of the equation. Think 3 and 5 years out. Don't think this month or next in the next 6 months. You have to start planning these things in advance. It was something that John said earlier. The success of this last year started sometimes 5 years ago. Those of you that are affiliated with mechanical engineering, it's named after a gentleman named Mr. Walker. Those conversations started 32 years ago, before the naming of that gift, before he donated the $20 million to name mechanical engineering. Okay, so hopefully that helps, Ambika. And you're in a difficult field too. So industry, back to industry again. They're more transactional, and the government relations and the lead, their science advisors, they are thinking about this year. They are thinking about more immediate sort of needs. And so we have to thread the needle on that when we're talking about philanthropy versus SRS versus other types of giving. So I hope that answers the question. Helps a little bit, I hope.
It does. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right, let's see. Any other questions in the chat? We'll take a look right quick. Thanks for you brave souls that asked those questions on that. Anything else in particular? We got about 6 minutes left in the meeting. I want to just make sure we don't leave anything left to chance here. We'll stay quiet for a few more seconds and see if there's anything else. Well, listen, we appreciate what you do. We know how hard you work, and truly, you're helping build a brighter future. So we'd love to help. We can't help on everything, as John said. We've got to be strategic in how we approach things, but we're always open to suggestions and how we can do our work in a more meaningful way. But when you get contacts with individuals, corporations, or foundations, let us know about it so we can get engaged and do the due diligence and help you be successful in what you're doing. And all we can offer up is we're going to do our best. We won't get it perfect every time, but we're going to do our best. And we look forward to seeing you around campus, around the state, nation, and world. And maybe we do another one of these, next year or when you think we should, to continue these conversations. So thanks for all you do.